Egypt is intensifying its diplomatic and humanitarian efforts following the Sharm el-Sheikh peace accords. Egypt's President al-Sisi and the Cypriot leader Christodoulos discussed implementation and regional cooperation, while Egypt's Prime Minister Madbouli reaffirmed Egypt's unwavering defense of the Palestinian cause. Concurrently, Cairo maintains massive aid convoys into Gaza, underscoring its leadership in peace, reconstruction, and humanitarian relief. Join our special coverage on Qnews, where we tackle the latest developments.
الآن في شرم الشيخ بتجرى مفاوضات لإنهاء الحرب.
I may go there sometime toward the end of the week, maybe on Sunday.
لازم أسجل بتقدير واحترام شديد للرئيس الأمريكي ترامب على إرادته الحقيقية في إنهاء الحرب خلال جولة المفاوضات الحالية.
Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has received a phone call from the Cypriot President Nikos Christodoulos discussing regional developments, notably the Sharm el-Sheikh agreement to end the war in Gaza. The Cypriot President welcomed the accord and praised Egypt's decisive role and the personal efforts of President al-Sisi. President al-Sisi stressed full implementation, humanitarian access, and reconstruction, emphasizing Egypt's coordination with Qatar and the U.S. He invited Christodoulos to Egypt's peace celebration and proposed an international recovery conference. The two leaders also discussed strengthening the Egypt-Cyprus cooperation in trade, tourism, and investment. Egyptian Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli has emphasized that the Palestinian cause will not be abandoned under any pressure, and forced displacement of Palestinians will not be tolerated. He reaffirmed Egypt's consistent stance since the onset of the Gaza crisis, despite campaigns of doubt and misrepresentation. Madbouli praised U.S. President Donald Trump's efforts alongside international partners in facilitating the Gaza agreement. He also highlighted widespread international recognition of Egypt's pivotal role in securing the ceasefire and supporting a framework for lasting peace in the region. Egypt's Foreign Minister Badr Abdel-Ati and the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio have held a phone call to discuss regional developments and the progress in ending the war on Gaza. The two reviewed preparations for the upcoming Sharm el-Sheikh summit, co-chaired by Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the U.S. President Donald Trump. Rubio described the summit as a historic milestone and praised Egypt's pivotal leadership in achieving the peace accord. Abdel-Ati emphasized the importance of implementing the agreement stages and reaffirmed Egypt's commitment to advancing the two-state solution as the path to lasting regional peace. Egypt's decisive mediation and logistical leadership marked the first tangible steps towards Gaza's post-war recovery.
Since the ceasefire came into effect, hundreds of aid trucks laden with food, medicine, and humanitarian supplies have entered Gaza through the Rafah border crossing, with daily convoys coordinated under United Nations oversight. These sources emphasize that Egypt's logistical contributions have played a central role in delivering relief to the Gaza Strip beleaguered population. Reports confirm that parts of Gaza have begun receiving intermittent power restored under the truce's provisions, allowing limited electricity to vital facilities and households. The re-energizing of the network is a key indicator of the agreement's early impact on civilian life. That comes as thousands of displaced Gazans have begun returning to their home neighborhoods in the north, walking across reopened corridors as security is maintained under the ceasefire framework. The return flows are described as cautious and gradual, with preliminary assessments underway of damages to infrastructure and housing. Egypt has been credited for its pivotal mediating role in brokering the ceasefire and supervising the early operational phase. That comes as Cairo is the primary regional enabler of the agreement, as Egyptian diplomatic, security, and logistical assets were indispensable to achieving consensus and facilitating implementation.
President Donald Trump has announced that Israeli detainees held in Gaza will begin returning, along with the recovery of about 28 bodies. Trump said the Gaza agreement would benefit Israel, the Middle East, and the world, expressing confidence in the durability of the ceasefire. Trump revealed plans to visit Israel to address the Knesset, then travel to Egypt for the official signing ceremony attended by several leaders. He also announced the creation of a peace council to oversee Gaza's reconstruction.
Approximately 28 bodies, and some of those bodies are...
The Élysée Palace has announced that French President Emmanuel Macron will travel to Egypt on Monday to support the implementation of President Trump's proposed peace agreement. During his visit, Macron will reaffirm France's commitment to the two-state solution as the foundation for lasting regional stability. He is also set to hold talks with regional and international partners to coordinate the next steps concerning Gaza's future and the broader peace process aimed at consolidating security and reconstruction efforts.
Nous réaffirmons ici avec force que la liberté de savoir, de penser, est une condition de notre avenir. Au fond, votre université rappelle à l'Europe tout entière.
For further analysis, we're joined from Cairo by the Secretary General of the Al-Farabi Center for Political Studies, Dr. Mukhtar Habashi. Thank you, sir, for joining us here on Qnews. Firstly, sir, let's start off by asking you, how do you evaluate Egypt's contribution when it comes to the Sharm el-Sheikh agreement, especially regarding the diplomatic approach, as well as, a long-standing influence within the region?
Greetings in the beginning. Of course, Egypt's role is very important. It's the one who hosted the contending parties in Sharm el-Sheikh. There were the Israeli party and the resistance party, and other parties who played important role to alleviate suffering and to overcome the obstacles. We also hosted the Turkish party, and the US were represented by Kushner, the Trump's son-in-law, and Witkoff, the envoy to the Middle East. Of course, there were monitoring by regional and international parties. Egypt played an important role to close the gaps and overcome obstacles, especially when it comes to the plan provided by Trump and the response provided by the Palestinian resistance. Till now, we reached the agreement, the announced one in all the news and media.
Well, President Sisi also highlighted the need for the full implementation of a humanitarian access into the Gaza Strip. Now, you talked a bit about the obstacles, but what obstacles might hinder these objectives of access to humanitarian aid and the full implementation of the ceasefire plans within Gaza?
Let me be honest. This American plan is phased. The first phase is after 72 hours of ceasefire, the resistance will release the live detainees, the Israeli detainees. In response, Israel will release 250 Palestinian detainees, and more than 1,700 of those detained after 7 of October. This is very important, and it will show the credibility of the Palestinian resistance, releasing the detainees. And also Israel released the Palestinian detainees and prisoners they have, who they announced that they will release. I imagine it's hard in the next stage. The next stages might be hard, as it's supposed to witness the Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. This might cause hindrances due to Israel, and there might be a problem regarding the disarmament of Hamas, as this is a wide issue. No party know what exact weapons Hamas have. Hamas doesn't have tanks or planes and so on. They have light weapons, so this mechanism of disarmament is a open term that might lead to troubles regarding the providing of humanitarian aid. We know in the first 5 days there will be 400 trucks allowed, but in the next days,
well,
we
sir,
don't know.
you talked about the contentious issues that may come up during the negotiation phase, but also let's talk about the Egyptian role here as well. In what ways do you think that Egypt's coordination with Qatar and the United States could possibly strengthen the prospects for a lasting peace? And do you think that these different sides or aspects within the mediation efforts itself may pose some sort of different priorities for different parties?
The Egyptian role is pivotal. It started before this deal. Egypt played a huge role to reach this deal, and this will continue in the future. As I said, there might be hindrances that might happen by the Israeli occupation. Egypt might play a role with the US or regional and international parties to convince Israel to stop these hindrances.
The International Recovery Conference could mark a key milestone. What practical goals should Egypt pursue to advance Gaza's reconstruction and reaffirming Palestinian self-determination, which is always at the top of the mind of the Egyptians as well as the Palestinians? Obviously, it's the most important thing for them.
The reconstruction in Gaza is also something hard. Supposedly, there should be the tools allowed in Gaza to reconstruct, and the sources needed should be allowed in order to revive the strip. We know that Gaza is destroyed completely, and I think Rafah and Karam Abu Salim crossings should be ready to provide such tools or aid. The problem is, will Israel allow this? Will it go smoothly without hindrances? So we don't know. This is the question right now. But Egypt emphasized the importance of this deal and to stresses the right of the Palestinians to self-determination, and this won't happen without a Palestinian independent state with Jerusalem as its capital. This is the hope. This is what we hope would happen.
Well, as you said, that the aspirations here is for a Palestinian state, and Egypt has reaffirmed this idea for the last 2 years and has held firmly against many things, including the displacement of the Palestinians. Now, the Prime Minister, Mustafa Madbouli, reaffirmed Egypt's unwavering commitment towards the Palestinian cause. How sustainable is this position amid the mounting political and economic pressures? We've obviously seen Egypt not give way for the last 2 years, but we're going to continue this, in your opinion?
I think the Egyptian role will be sustained, and of course, it's a priority to Egypt to have a Palestinian state. There won't be peace or calm or the tension won't elevate unless a Palestinian state is established. We know there were clashes between Israel and the resistance in 2008, 2012, 2014, 2021, and of course the one we're living right now. There might be a renewal of the conflicts unless there is an independent Palestinian state with the sovereignty and its own borders. That's Egypt's stance, and this is recognized internationally. We try to implement this as this is the only way that the region will have peace.
Okay, that was Dr. Mukhtar Ghabashi from Cairo, the Secretary General of Al-Farabi Center for Political Studies. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us here on Qnews. The head of the U.S. Military Central Command, Admiral Brad Cooper, has ruled out any deployment of American troops in Gaza following his visit to the enclave. Cooper said on X that he had just returned from a visit inside Gaza, where he discussed plans to establish a CENTCOM-led civil-military coordination center to support post-conflict stabilization. The U.S. has repeatedly stressed that its role will remain limited to coordination, reconstruction support, and humanitarian facilitation under the Gaza Peace Framework. The World Food Programme says it has started scaling up its operations in Gaza as the ceasefire opens the door for international aid groups to return to the Strip. In a post on X, the organization said, with full access, the WFP intends to restore its regular food distribution system. It added that more than 170,000 metric tons of food are ready for dispatch or currently en route as part of an effort to address the severe food shortages that gripped Gaza during the war. The Civil Defense Agency says around 500,000 Palestinians have returned to northern Gaza since the ceasefire came into effect. It added that tens of thousands more are still on the move northward in recent hours, many seeking to return to their homes or what remains of them and to reunite with loved ones. Others, the agency said, are searching for those feared dead or still missing after months of war and displacement. Egypt continues to send large-scale humanitarian aid to Gaza without interruption, leading efforts to break the famine through sustained convoys carrying food, clean water, medical supplies, and vital fuel for hospitals. Hundreds of Egyptian trucks have entered the Gaza Strip via the coastal and border routes, including a major convoy along Al-Rashid Street. That comes as the Egyptian Relief Committee has so far delivered over 500,000 food parcels. Gaza residents expressed deep appreciation for Egypt's steadfast support and its firm stance against displacement. The Egyptian Committee for the Relief of the People of Gaza announced its active contribution to supporting the return of displaced Palestinians to northern Gaza. This effort involved the deployment of 100 trucks to transport returnees from various areas, with priority given to the elderly, women and children. The committee reaffirmed its commitment to stand by Gaza's residents through all stages of resilience and return. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi reaffirms Egypt's unwavering commitment to peace, aid delivery and the full implementation of the Sharm el-Sheikh Agreement. For further analysis, we're joined from Cairo by the political science professor and a specialist in regional and international security, Dr. Ahmed Shahat. Welcome, sir, to Qnews. Firstly, let's start off by asking you, as Egypt continues its extensive humanitarian operations in Gaza, how can Egypt balance these commitments with the demands of its own domestic economy?
Egypt is playing an important steady role that balance between its commitments and its economy in order to support our people in Gaza and to provide aid to Gaza and to alleviate the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Sure, it's exerting efforts and Egyptian citizens are ready to support Egypt's role.
Egypt has rejected the Palestinian displacement. Has this gained broad recognition in general across the world? And how might this stance shape the regional relations as well as a solidarity among Arab nations who also reject the displacement of Palestinians?
Since 7 in October, Egypt realized the Israeli plan and it refused it. They were trying to impose sovereignty on Gaza and force the displacement of the Palestinians and destroy the Palestinian cause. So Egypt played an important role and urged the international community to stop and refuse the forced displacement, and there were Arab Islamic efforts, and this is obvious. Now the international community refused the Palestinian displacement, which hindered the Israeli plan.
Okay, sir, we're going to move on to a live in Tel Aviv at Hostage Square, where Steve Witkoff, the United States Special Envoy to the Middle East, is delivering a speech. If you just stay with us until we watch this speech, sir.
Achieved. One of them standing right here with me, Jared Kushner. To Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Oh. Okay. Okay. To Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay, let me just finish my thought. I was in the trenches, guys. Let me just finish my thought. I was in the trenches with the Prime Minister. Believe me, he was a very important part here. The Prime Minister and his staff, Ron Dermer included, have both sacrificed so much for this country and devoted their lives to the service of Israel. Their dedication to the history and destiny of this nation stands out tonight. They've given everything, their time, their energy, and their hearts, to building a safer, stronger future for the Jewish people. Their commitment to this country has never wavered, and it never will. We thank you. The President thanks you. Thank you. And to President Donald J. Trump. Thank you. Thank you. To President Donald J. Trump, a man who is a humanitarian through and through, with the indomitable spirit, who once again proved that bold leadership and moral clarity can reshape history and change the world. We all owe a debt of deep gratitude to President Trump. In the worst of times, he refused to accept the idea that peace in the Mideast was out of reach. He brought together nations once divided by generations of conflict, and showed us that shared peace is stronger than shared pain. History will remember that when others doubted, President Trump believed. He is the greatest president in American history, and we're here because of him. He showed the world that strength and peace go hand in hand. They are not opposites, they are partners. To the Arab leaders and partners of ours who meant so much in this negotiation, including President Erdogan from Turkey, including Sheikh Mohammed from Qatar, including the Emir, including President Sisi, all of whom played a critical and an integral role in this peace deal. I say thank you. Each of those Arab friends and partners of ours, each of them come from nations that chose reconciliation over resentment. Thank you for showing that the future of this region can be built not on the ashes of old hatred, but on the promise of shared hope. And now, from the depths of our hearts, we honor the families of the hostages. Each and every one of you have carried the moral weight of this nation. Your courage has moved the world and has touched me in ways that I have never been touched before in my entire life. You have Thank you. Thank you. But if you keep me here all night, then Jared and Ivanka won't get to talk to you. Your courage has moved this world, I say to the families. You have prayed through endless nights and never let the world forget who your loved ones are. And in this way, you honor and you bless them. To the hostages themselves, our brothers and sisters, you are coming home. Your faces, your names, your stories have lived in every heart here tonight and in mine since I began this job. Your endurance, your faith, your will to live have been symbols of the human spirit that cannot ever be broken. And now, as you return to the embrace of your families and your nation, know that all of Israel and the entire world stands ready to welcome you home with open arms and endless love. And let's not forget the people who have lost children who are not coming home. Members of a very terrible club that I'm a member of myself. We remember the heroes and the innocent souls who are no longer with us, those who were taken from us on that terrible, tragic day, October 7th, and those who have given their lives since then in defense of freedom and their nation, in defense of this country, Israel, in defense of peace. Their memory is a blessing. Their sacrifice will never be forgotten. From their courage, we draw our strength, and from their love, we find our purpose. This peace is their legacy, It is a promise that their lives will not be remembered only in sorrow, but in the hope of a future without fear. So in closing, I say, may God bless the souls of the fallen. May God bless the hostages and their families as they return home. May God bless the state of Israel. May God bless the United States of America. And may God bless Donald J. Trump, the greatest president the world has ever seen. Thank you.
That was Steve Witkoff, the special envoy to the U.S. there, with Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump at Tel Aviv Hostage Square, where they spoke about the deal. And once he mentioned Netanyahu, booing started to come out and chants against him. But they did chant for President Trump in support of the deal. And Witkoff thanked the partners within this deal, including Arab leaders and Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, for the role, as he described it, critical role in mediating the efforts towards peace. We're still on with Dr. Ahmed there. Sir, if you heard part of this speech, what do you think of what's happening right now? Is this speech valid in terms of the mediation efforts that have taken place from the Egyptian as well as other Arab partners within the region?
This is a very important speech. It emphasized the role of Trump to end the war, and in the same context, it values the Egyptian and other parties' role and the effort exerted, and also the Caesar's role in the excelling of the negotiations and the emphasis on continuing the deal. At the same time, it provides the idea that Israel supports the deal and the return of the hostages, whether dead or alive, and the speech emphasized the support of the U.S. to Israel. All in all, this showed the policies of Trump, and it's obvious that there is a negative perception of Netanyahu right now, especially from the hostages and detainees' family, because he didn't reach a deal until Trump interfered.
Sir, your point there is clear, but unfortunately we're out of time. But thank you so much, Dr. Ahmed Shahad from Cairo, the political science professor, as well as a specialist in regional and international security. Thank you so much for joining us here on Q News. This brings us to the end of our special coverage for the day and our transmission for the day. But don't forget to follow Q News on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at Q News EGY to stay informed. Thank you for watching.